What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk about 5 chord types that you need to know. There are many types out there actually, but there are 5 really fundamental triad shapes that you should be knowing, especially as a classical pianist, or if you want to gain some fluency on the keyboard. These will be fundamental. Before we really get into that though, I want to give you a free guide before we start called Playing with Confidence, because a lot of people are asking me like, what type of techniques and playing stuff do I really need to know to take my playing to the next level? So I wanted to categorize all of that into a simple and easy to read guide that's totally free. It goes over like scales and chords and arpeggios and explains them each and tells you how to apply them. So if you really work on those things, I guarantee you that you will improve, and I want to give that to you as a gift and a thank you for watching this video. So you can click the first link in the box below to take you straight there, and we'll get started. So anyway, let's talk about these 5 chord types. The first one is major, okay? I think we all know the major chord, but just so you don't, in case you don't, the way you build it, you can think of it in 2 ways. Number one, you can start from your root note. Let's say I want to play a C major chord. What you want to do is count up 4 semitones or 4 half steps, same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you don't want to count the first note because you haven't actually stepped anywhere yet. So C sharp is 1, then 2, 3, 4. So E is our middle note. Now a triad needs 3 notes, okay? So we need to go add 1 more note, and you want to go up 3 more semitones from the E to find it. And there we go. Now we have the full C major chord, like this. So this is kind of the first way you can find the major triad. So 4 half steps plus 3 half steps. The other way you could do it is if you already know your major scale. For example, the C major scale is all white notes, right? The major triad is literally the first, third, and fifth notes of that scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have C, E, and G, and that is your major triad right there. Okay, so 4 half steps plus 3 half steps, or just think of the first, third, and fifth notes of that scale. And when you have time, I would recommend you getting used to playing the major triad starting on all 12 notes of the piano. So I just did it on 7 notes, all the white notes, but you could also do it on the black notes. And being able to play that very fluently is obviously great to do. Then the next type is the minor triad, or the minor chord. And the way we play this is very simple. All you need to do is take your major triad and move the middle note down 1 semitone. And now instantly you have that sadder sound. So the third of the chord will determine the major or minor quality of the chord. You can think of this as 3 half steps plus 4 half steps, as opposed to 4 plus 3 in the major triad. So this is 3 plus 4. Or you could do the other method of thinking about your scale. So the C minor scale has E flat, A flat, and B flat, right? So if you think of the first 3, the first, third, and the fifth note of the scale, C, E flat, G, those are the first, third, and fifth notes of the scale as well. So being able to play the minor chords in all 12 keys is obviously great to know as well. The third one is actually the dominant 7th. So just to recap, dominant in music means 5. So if the fifth note of a chord, of a scale is, let's say, G, then we know the first note of the scale is C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. G would be 5, C would be number 1 if we're in the key of C, right? So if we want to build a dominant 7th chord on G, that would make sense because G is the fifth note of the scale. So the way you build this is you start with a major triad. In this case, we have a G major triad. Then you add a minor third or 3 semitones on top of the top note. So from D, you go 1, 2, 3, and there's your dominant 7th, or we call it a G7 or G dominant 7, right? And this 7th on the top, this F, very naturally wants to pull us back down to the third of the scale, which is why we like to hear this. We want to hear that resolution from the 5-7 to the 1. And so that's a very great chord type to know as well. So, no matter what scale you're playing, getting to know the dominant 7th of each of those chords, even if it's like major or minor, doesn't matter what key it is, the dominant 7th will be identical in both major and minor. So for example, if it's C major or C minor, the dominant 7th will still be G7, okay? Just because in harmonic minor, you want to raise the 7th to the B natural there. That's kind of beyond the scope of today's video, but let's talk about the fourth type, which is the diminished seventh. So the diminished seventh is usually used in a minor scale in the classical tradition. If let's say we're in the key of C minor. So what you want to do is find the leading note of the scale, which is the seventh note. In this case, it would be B natural. Let's go with the one just below the C here. And then you want to build a 4-note chord, but separated by a minor third between every note. So that means 3 half steps. So from B, we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's our diminished seventh. And then we want to resolve up 1 semitone back to the tonic, or the first note of the scale, in a minor chord, like this. And that's the most common use of the diminished seventh chord. Let's try another one. Let's start on E. There's our diminished seventh. We have 3 semitones between each note. And then we resolve from E up a semitone to F and make it a minor chord. And there it is. So we call this the leading tone diminished seventh chord, which resolves back to the 1. All right, and that is the diminished seventh. Very, very sad, very depressing, even sadder than the minor chord, whereas the dominant seventh is quite happy and really wants to resolve to a major chord, being the 1 chord. Finally, let's talk about the augmented triad. So the augmented triad is where you take a major triad and raise the 5th up a semitone, just like this. Now, you can hear it kind of sounds outerworldly, kind of weird, like an alien. You know, it's usually less common in just popular music. Usually we hear some diminished chords, major and minor, but augmented usually is reserved for resolution purposes up to a certain chord. So, for example, like that. So it's like E augmented, you raise up a semitone and resolve to a major chord like this. You know, there's lots of ways you can actually resolve it, but generally major and minor are the ones you want to focus on the most and be comfortable with playing. In my classical studies, the ones I had to practice in every single level were major, minor, and then eventually dominant seventh and diminished seventh as well. So if you can get used to those fingerings and feel how they work, then you'll be good to go. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense and gives you some ideas of which chords to practice. Again, if you're interested in learning more about the fundamentals, I want to give you that free Playing with Confidence guide, going over some concepts that you need to know in order to take your playing from where it is to the next level if you're super serious about it. And I guarantee you that if you apply these concepts, you will see improvement. You just have to do the work. All right, so thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next video and take care. Bye-bye.